It is believed that everything has time and there is time for everything. Now, what does exactly that mean in the corporate world or in terms of business? Let's try to illustrate that. See, for many business, it's pretty seasonal. For many business, it's time based. The other day I was talking about the companies or the business houses which are making firecrackers. Now, if they started making firecrackers in the time of Holi, which is the festival of colors, it will not work. There will not be any buyers. If the woolen clothes are made and tried to be sold during the summer, it will be a difficult market. There would be some sales with discounts and rebates, but that is not something that the people are looking for at that particular moment. So understanding the timing is very important for the survival and sustainability of any business organization. The products, financial products like FDs, bonds and others, they too have a market. Apart from the regular market, we have seen before the filing of the IT, there is a demand for these products in the market to save taxes, to save the investment from being taxed. So, the kind of requirement that you have in the month of March or in the month of February, it cannot be expected in the month of April, May, June and so on. There would be regular buyers, there would be buyers looking for insurance and other products, but the demand for these financial instruments or products are more in the month of March. So understanding this timing is the key towards the success of any organization, any department and any employee. And when you are heading that organization, when you are heading that big company and you are the decision maker, understanding the timing is very important. So how do one understand the timing? It is very important. I understand that. We all agree to that. But how does one understand the timing, the cycle, the demand, the market, and so on? Because these are all the aspects or the factors which are going to impact in the long run the organizational health and the production also. The availability of the raw material, the availability of human resource, the availability of technology, the availability of any kind of products which are related to the production gets a bit hampered during the rainy season, during the extreme summer times. So understanding these cycles, these factors which are beyond being honestly put forward into a logbook, these are the things that one has to learn from the real life of the business cycle. So when you are heading that organization, it's very important to understand the timing for your action, for your production, for your implementation of the technology. So how does one do that? The first thing is, as it always says, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step outside your home. So when you are trying to understand and learn about that cycle, about the time, about the period, about the factors which are affecting the business, the production and the organization as a whole, you first need to start playing that game. Now this is a game wherein you might be the new player. You might fall many times, but with every time you fall, you learn the reason why you fail. And while you are into this game, you understand, you learn through observing the other players too, how they do the market analysis, what are the kind of tools that they use to understand the market, what are the kind of advertisement tools that they use to penetrate the market, what are the kind of targeting procedure that they use to categorize the user criteria, or how do they segregate the buyers from non-buyers to the people who would be future buyers also. So when you're in the game, you can understand, you can learn those tips and tricks. Whereas if you're watching the game, not by playing the game as a viewer from the stadium, outside the game, you will not be learning it, because observation is of no use unless you put it into use, right? So once you have observed certain things in the game, you need to implement those. You need to see what the result is. If it is okay, you need to improve it more. If it is not up to the mark, you know what was lacking, because you try to do that, you get a result, and again you learn from the result. So when you are in the game, only then you can understand, learn through observing the other players. How do they do the work? How do they micromanage their productivity? How do they impact their subordinate? How do they encourage their subordinate, and so on? So it is only when you are yourself playing the game, you know the rules of the game, you know what it matters, how it affects the opponents, and so on. So be in that game, try to learn through observing. Doesn't matter even if you fail or fall, because with every fall you are ensuring that you do not fall with the same reason when you go live, when you are working on a larger scale, when you are implementing technology or doing a collaboration at a larger scale. Second best point always is, in India we have always believed that the knowledge has been always passed upon by us, by our seniors, by our gurus, by our mentors. So it is very important when you are in the game to have that coach, to have that mentor who would be guiding you, because under the influence or the observation of such a mentor or a guru, you will be able to take all the risks, because be ensured your mentor, your coach, your guru does not want you to fail. They have seen the same things, they have learned over their lifetime, the same procedure, the kind of mistakes that one does, the kind of analysis that is required to understand the market, the season, the kind of customer to cater to, and so on. So when you have in the business, in the corporate world, when you have that mentor or the coach with you, basically what happens is you actually are free to take all the initiatives, to take all the kind of risks, because you know that a coach is watching over, a coach is going to monitor your performance, a coach is going to give you a feedback, and again you will have somebody to guide you through as to how to get through that roadblock. So having the guru or having that mentor, having that coach is very important when we are in the business world, because in the business world it doesn't matter what age you are when you are doing the business, but you need to understand one thing: the seniors in the business have seen much better days and worse days than yours. So they know what can trigger which aspect, what all factors are interlinked into the impacting zone, what are the kind of result which might get displayed when certain steps are followed. So it's very important. That's one mistake that all business houses does is they appoint a coach, they appoint an auditor, they appoint a mentor. Is please give us a kind of like guidelines to follow, set of rules which we will follow, and we will yield a positive or a successful result. It's not like that. The mentor, the coach that the organization or you are as a business decision maker are appointing for your business, you need to ensure that your coach, your mentor is very much into the process with you, because only when he or she is with you into the production place, into the process management, into the meetings, in understanding the subordinates and how they're contributing their performance and everything, only then they can have a 360-degree view, and they can guide you actually in a direction wherein the mistakes are lessened, the mistakes are somewhat, let's say, made less, and maximization of the resource, maximization of the time, maximization of the skill sets happens. So when you are the decision maker, it's absolutely okay to take the decision, but I would suggest that when you are working towards further collaboration, or exploring new markets, or penetrating new markets, penetrating new demographics and new customer segment, it's absolutely recommended that you have a coach, you have a mentor, and you have a senior to go to, or let's say, to run to discuss. It could be the seniors from your own organization. You might be the director of the company, but honestly speaking, if there is if there is a manager, or if there is even a subordinate who has been with the company for, let's say, 20 years or 30 years, trust me, he has better knowledge about the internal operations which is happening within your organization. And if you include that person, if you seek advice from that person, not only the person feels connected, honored, and he opens up in sharing his wisdom or knowledge that he has gained over 20 years, 10 years, 30 years. I remember a similar situation when I was into ICICI Bank, looking into the operations as a branch manager. You wouldn't believe, one name was Datta, who was everybody, like any time we faced any problem with the software, we used to use a software called Finacle, right? Every time somebody got stuck up with any kind of options in that software, they used to say, sir, please give a call to Mr. Anjan Datta. Now, I gave a call to him so many times, but I never actually asked like what his designation or what he does. I always was under the impression that since everybody is seeking his advice in terms of using Finacle, so he must be from the software support department. He might be the head of the department. But it so happened that in one of the award and recognition ceremony, I was lucky enough to meet him in person, and you wouldn't believe, he was an elderly person working with ICICI Bank for almost 10 to 12 years, I believe, and he joined as a teller, and from there he was just a branch operation manager with one branch. But you wouldn't believe, he mentioned actually that he has 6 telephones. We used to have that landlines, in the 2006, 2007 landlines were there. So mobile was also there. But he said that I have 6 different lines wherein each of the telephones were mentioned for one department, in the sense, one was like for the top level management, one was for the mid level management, one was for the software development itself. And he is not even a software engineer or anybody. He was just a graduate who joined ICICI Bank as a teller. And but the thing is, he had this knack, he has this tendency to do a lot of R&D with the software. So when this software initially was rolled into ICICI Bank's operation, he was the person who was among one such team who had this basic training. So when he had this basic training, he mentioned that the basic training which was given to the employees of ICICI Bank, that was not really that sufficient, because we need to have a manual or a guidebook which one can consult. You wouldn't believe, he actually, out of his proactiveness, actually created a guidebook which was like a manual. And the surprising fact was, this Finacle software was developed by Infosys in the initial days, and later on it was maintained by TCS to some extent. But you wouldn't believe, both the companies, the software companies, actually had these guidelines, a book which was prepared by Mr. Anjan Datta from Kolkata, and that was like a kind of like a, as we say, the Bible of the code book of the process and management. So you see, the main thing is though he is in a much lesser designation, than the operation head or the zonal head or the country head. But you wouldn't believe, there were days when he used to receive calls from Kalpana Morpare, who was heading the ICC bank operation at that time. So the thing is, when you are trying to get into a new market, get into a new collaboration, get into bringing in more new customers, you need to have that guru or the mentor or that coach. And does not mean that you will always have to appoint somebody from outside. You might be having somebody within the organization who might be having an in-depth understanding of the operation much better than you. So if you sit with that person, you talk with that person, you ask for a feedback, the person opens up, the person feels connected with the organization, the person feels the contribution matters, so he or she opens up and gives the feedback, which trust me, honestly speaking, an external auditor might have overlooked. But since this person has been working with the organization for such a long time, he might or she might have that insight of the internal operation and what might trigger what. So the main thing is, when you are looking into a market expansion, collaboration, market penetration, it is a mandate that you have a coach, you have a senior person to run to consult, to have their feedback. Now, when we are talking about the senior people being consulted and others, you know, one thing is very important. We need to time the move every time we take a new decision. We have to do the timing calculation analysis very correctly, because a wrong decision not only impacts you, it impacts the organization as a whole. It impacts the decision of yours or the board managers. It impacts the subordinates. It implies, it really, impacts the employees of the organization. So when you are that decision maker, when you are heading that operation, when you are heading that organization, you need to be very careful about really making the time analysis, in the correct decision. And it so happened that in one of the meetings, I met one of the India's pioneer giant in terms of IT industry, and I had the privilege of talking to him. So over the dinner, it was like a corporate dinner which was organized. I literally asked, like, so ma'am, how do you ensure your decisions are always brings success and positive results? So she mentioned, see Sanjay, the main thing is I take prompt decision. I don't procrastinate. I take prompt decision, and I have immense faith in the people whom I have delegated the work, and I set up a time frame, like within which I am expecting a feedback, because upon that feedback I need to work. So people now knows that their feedback or their output or their contribution can only make a change in the organization when it is time bound. So understanding this time framing or understanding the timing is very important for the decision maker. So please consider those aspects while doing that analysis of the market or the product or the customer, whether it's the right time, whether it's the right time to incorporate new policies, whether it's the right time to bring in more new technologies, whether it's the right time to go for a new market collaboration. You need to understand all this in terms of global scenario, in terms of global business